Here.
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 Okay, we will observe our customary moment of silence. Carrie, can you lead us in the pledge, please? Where's over there?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda with a addition of adding, you looked at me first, Brent. Brent Dawson is our secretary for the night, since Lisa's not here just yet.
Make that motion.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll move on to members of the audience may address the board on agenda items only. Seeing none, we'll move on to academic highlights. FFA, educator Laura Finch, and students.
Thank you.
So I'm John Hendler tonight, so let me get up. This is from the board. All right, thank you.
Okay, good evening. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Laura Finch, and I'm currently serving as the agri-science teacher and FFA advisor for Marshall Public Schools. And I have brought some awesome guests to share with our academic highlight today. We want to thank you for inviting us.
So I'm Sarah Davis. I'm the Michigan State intern that's been with
regional championship is tomorrow, and you'll be hearing her speech tonight as well. And second place demonstration that I had part of. And we'll both be competing at state, which is coming up this next Wednesday. And so pretty excited about that. So yeah, we invite you to go. You want to be there? It'll be up in MSU.
So last October, we all took a trip down to Indianapolis for the National FFA Convention. Everyone from around the entire nation was there. FFA members fulfilled the Indiana Pacers stadium 3
for state champion. We don't know, of course, but we are hopeful, and I'm just proud of her, and her mom's proud of her too, and all of us for just doing such a good job with her speech. And she did end up being district champion and then regional champion, which is pretty awesome. So, and on that, if anybody has any bee questions, if you'd like to write them down or email me and I can get them to her, because I know you guys have a lot on your agenda for today. Or if anybody has any other questions about FFA or about the ag program or anything, for me or anything that's.
I'd just like to say I'm so happy to see where the FFA program is now. I went to one of the national conventions years ago. It was mind-blowing for me. I had no idea what it was, and to see the kids out there and now to see them in our school, the way the program has grown is just awesome, so thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Mara, outstanding. Nice job.
Good luck.
Can I just hire you for my speechwriter? Yeah? All right.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you again. We're going to move on to literacy rounds, Harrington Elementary School.
I'm not sure that got communicated effectively. Robert is dealing with some illness, so I'm not sure that got communicated effectively. So
Okay.
can we just move on from that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Going to move on to consent agenda. We have approval of minutes, disbursements, and employment, and then an out-of-state field trip. Can you give us some background?
Sure.
At least on the out-of-state field trip.
Approval of minutes, December 3rd, 2018 combined work business session, December 17, 2018 special work session, January 14, 2019 combined organizational meeting work session, February 11, 2019 work session, and February 20th, 2019 special session relative to the minutes. B, disbursements, December 2018 in the amount of $2,545,901.08, and January 2019 in the amount of $2,531,603.86. There's a litany of new hires that I'll be presenting in a bit, but they're listed here. The background minutes are included in the board materials that you received. Financials are included in the board materials. Employment offers have been accepted pending board approval, successful validation of criminal history record checks, and completion of unprofessional conduct checks and validation of credentials. And N is Board Policy 2340, requires all out-of-state field trips be approved by the board. An optional trip for students from grades 2 through 12th grade to travel to Chicago, Illinois, March 23rd, 2019 is being considered. The trip is self-funded by students and parents. Participants will meet Dr. Jane Goodall and learn about her work and her programs for youth, such as the Roots and Shoots project, now in effect in more than 100 countries. The cost is $200 per person. Students will be traveling to Chicago with their parents by private automobile or commuter train from northern Indiana. A few students will travel with teachers or chaperones other than parents. You have information that's in your packet in regards to that trip. It's quite involved, but it's a very exciting opportunity. It is a recommendation of the superintendent that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Can I entertain a motion, please?
Move for approval.
Support.
Okay, discussion.
So do we have anything that the kids want to say that are here? Because I recognize a couple.
Could I ask for the kids to come up for a second?
I think the president will let you, I think.
So Gordon, kids, come up, please. I want to stand with these beautiful high school kids. They did such a nice job. And we don't have a big presentation, we're not going to give a speech, but I'd like each kid to say their name, and then one reason, either why you want to go deep into it all, or why you want to start a Roots and Shoots, or what you hope to learn while you're there. So you can go first and you can share it to them. Sloan.
Let me get a picture of you guys.
Scooch in.
Sure, sure. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Any questions, comments?
I just want to say thank you guys for coming and to be at your age and to stand up in this room in front of all of these adults and all these people and to say what you said. I just applaud you because I think a lot of students your age would have difficulty doing that, and I think it's great that you guys did it. But you did it. You did it.
Well, we don't know how many breaths Jane has.
That was awesome.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll start with Richard.
Let's vote, time's wasting, yeah.
Richard?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. You're all set?
Right.
Will you be fine for us to leave?
Absolutely. Thank you all for coming. We're going to move on to discussion. 2019, I think that's 2020 school calendar.
2019, 2020, that's right. In your package, you'll see the 2019-2020 school calendar for the coming year. I want to thank the MTA leadership, central office leadership, and Kimberly Van Vormer for the work that's being done on this calendar. It's nice to have this TA on the 21st of this month. You'll see basically pretty consistent things. I'm not going to go through all the details behind the differences, but it's ready to go post. So we're going to be putting that on our website. We'll be sending that out to our teachers and for our kids as well as our parents and so forth. Some things that aren't on that list, because this is the user-friendly one, I've got the box squares and all that kind of stuff over here, is new teachers report on Tuesday the 13th of August, the 14th and the 15th for their new staff orientation. And then all teachers report on the 19th of August. We'll be working on the 20th of August with professional development and be ready for the 21st of August, which is the first day of instruction for students this year. If I fast forward through a couple other issues, I wanted to get down to letting you know that the professional development days are half days now instead of 2-hour early releases. That works a little bit better in some of the circumstances. We have 6 of those and 2 full-day professional development days. So we've met our requirements on 36 professional development days, or hours, as well as the last day of school right now, subject to, active God days, is going to be the 29th of August, which is the Friday after Memorial Day. May, thank you. 29th of May, thank you. So that's a pretty tight schedule. We're meeting 187 days for new teachers, 184 days for teachers that have been in the system, and we're meeting the 180 days of instruction for students and the hours that we expect. Do you have any questions on that?
I know we've talked about this in the past. It's the entire county is starting with the first day of August 21st, correct?
That's correct. This might be a good time to kind of interject one little comment about active God days, since it's not on the calendar, I don't believe, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it into my conversation. We're allowed 6 active God days or 6 weather days, up to 36 hours of instruction. And if we go over, which we've gone over, right now we're at 9 days and 2 hours of weather-related closures. we can go and apply for a waiver from the state, from the Michigan Department of Education, which Kimberly and I already did, and we received our answer that we were given a waiver for the 3 days that we requested. That brings us down to 6 days and 2 hours at this juncture. Not knowing what's going to be in front of us between now and the last day of school. We're going to be looking at that closely and monitoring that, and we may have to make up some time, but it doesn't look like we're going to have to make up days. The other thing I wanted to let you know is that the state legislature is entertaining 3 different bills that impact on this question about number of weather days or act of God days. The one that seems to have the most legs to it is the one where if the governor calls for a state of emergency for Michigan, which she did the Wednesday and Thursday of the bitter cold week that we had, that should apply. It's being recommended that that be applied to public schools as well as governments and so forth. So that does make sense because it's outside of our control. Even if we wanted to run, everybody else is closed, and there's a lot of different issues that go on with that. So if that got passed, we'd be able to, if it got passed within this year and retroactive, we'd be able to capture 2 more days. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's my opinion. I think it might, if it does pass, be applied to coming years. Okay? So right now, just 2 hours we have to make up. We can manage that. Yeah.
Any questions?
I have a question. Graduation isn't on this list. Is that normal?
Yes, it is. The high school will come back with when the commencement's scheduled, and they'll make that announcement. Thank you.
That was from my daughter, so.
It was pointed out I made a mistake and we jumped over reported the superintendent. So can we backtrack and go to A, special recognition, new hires?
Sure can. Rainisha Bean fills the position of paraprofessional at Harrington Elementary. Ms. Bean attended Michigan State University, go White, where she earned a bachelor's degree with a major in human development and family studies, go Green. Natalia I don't know how to pronounce this last name, DiCiacca fills the position of paraprofessional, sorry, Natalia, fills the position of paraprofessional at Harrington Elementary. Ms. DiCiacca attended Albion College, where she earned a bachelor's degree with a major in secondary English education. McKenna Donahue fills the position of paraprofessional at Walters Elementary. Ms. Donahue attended Albion College, where she earned a bachelor's degree with a concentration in elementary education. I like the pattern I'm seeing. Richard Dopp fills the position of bus driver in the Transportation Department. Mr. Dopp is a graduate of Battle Creek Central High School. Kendra Gibbs fills the position of counselor at Hughes Elementary. Is Ms. Gibbs in the audience? Nope. Ms. Gibbs attended the King's College out of New York City, where she earned a bachelor's degree with a major in physical education and a minor in biology. She holds a master's degree in school counseling from Western Michigan University. Karen Howard fills the position of paraprofessional at Harrington Elementary. Ms. Howard is a graduate of Waite High School in Toledo, Ohio. I used to wrestle them, actually, in high school. Mallory Jones fills the position of elementary teacher at Harrington Elementary. Ms. Jones attended Saginaw Valley State University, where she will earn a bachelor's degree with a major in early childhood education. Samantha McCluskey fills the position of special education teacher at Marshall High School. Ms. McCluskey attended Metropolitan State College of Denver, where she earned a bachelor's degree with a major in art education. She earned a master's degree in education from University of Phoenix and obtained her special education certification through the University of Central Arkansas. Letitia Messenger fills the position of noon hour supervisor at Hughes Elementary. Ms. Messenger is a graduate of Union City High School. Nicole Stone Mataco fills the position of paraprofessional at Marshall Middle School. Nicole is a Marshall High School graduate. She attended Kellogg Community College, where she obtained an associate's degree in nursing. Leslie Zlatev fills the position of counselor at Gordon and Walters Elementary. Mr. Zlatev attended the State University of New York, Buffalo, where she earned a bachelor's degree with a major in environmental design and a minor in urban planning. She holds a master's degree in school counseling from Western Michigan University. Very happy to have all of them come on board.
We move on to leadership team reports.
You have in your packet the list of leadership team reports from each of the administrators and leadership team.
Anybody have any comments, questions?
I do want to say a few things. One is Kelly mentioned a little bit about Bluefish taking some interest and work with their Facebook page. It underscores the fact that Bluefish is involved across the board with each of our buildings and is helping us kind of coordinate where we're going with communication. I also want to mention the parent-teacher conferences. It was extremely difficult to schedule because of all the snow days and cancellations. But I've heard from a number of people, and there's a comment in there about parent-teacher conferences in your packet. Just heard from one of our special ed teachers at the high school saying that it was the largest turnout he's ever had with parents on his caseload, and he was really excited about that, and I am too. I think that's really great to see our parents get engaged in that way. If you didn't have a chance to go to McTeacher's night over at McDonald's here in Albion for Harrington, it was awesome. Anybody go there? Yeah, it was really good. Big turnout, really nicely done, and nice turnout from the teachers as well to help put that on. And the other thing is just remembering March is Reading Month coming up, and that's something that we all should be thinking about and making some guest appearances and working with our administrators to see if we can read to our kids. Anything else?
Anybody else?
I just have one question. Are all the elementaries doing Battle of the Books now? So Gordon and Walters are? Oh, no, they're not. Okay. Just curious. I just think it's a great program.
I was just going to say I'm excited to see what the kindergarten roundup changes are going to look like. I think that's such a key piece to be able to get the kids in the district right at the very beginning, so I'm excited to see what that looks like, so thank you.
Yeah, we have a meeting coming up this week yet.
Anybody else?
I have a question. So there was a little blurb about a freshman that went to state championships at Adrian, but it didn't say what it was for. Oh, okay. Well, congratulations, Abby. It's okay. I really tried to pay attention to answer that question on my own, but I couldn't figure it out.
Awesome. Anything else? Thank you again for doing those leadership reports. We really do appreciate those. I'll move on. See if I'm
Back to
line
discussion.
Yeah.
So B.
Yep, CISD general fund budget.
Yep. As of July 1, 2004, state law requires an intermediate school district to have its proposed budget reviewed by its constituent districts each year. MCL 380.624. The law requires that by May 1st, the budget be presented to the constituent districts and that by June 1st, each constituent district adopt a board resolution expressing support for or disapproval of the proposed budget. The Marshall Public Schools Board is being presented with a proposed CISD general fund budget for 2019-2020 as required for review and discussion. A resolution will be brought before the board for action prior to June 1. I have nothing else on that. For our newer board members, this is a routine annual piece that we need to do.
In the past, we have had questions that we've taken back as well. But for the most part, they do a really nice job, and we just review it and then take action for June. Anyone have any questions?
Evaluating the superintendent?
Thank you.
All right.
Let's get back to the agenda.
Item C, evaluating the superintendent. Board Policy 1240, evaluation of the superintendent requires the board to evaluate the performance of the superintendent at least annually by March 31st. The board will evaluate the performance of the superintendent at the March 11, 2019 board work session in closed session as requested by the superintendent. A copy of the evaluation tool has been included in the board packets for reference. Results of the evaluation will be released at the March 25th, 2019 board business session, at which time the board will consider a contract extension for the superintendent based on the results of the evaluation. So open for discussion?
Please, did you want
I do. We're going to go over in board professional development about the school advanced model 2.0, which is an upgrade from what, actually it's a refinement for what they had done and what you were all trained on. It's very similar. There's just some crossover issues from the last rubric to the new rubric, but the content's the same. The first year I was asked to do, I think, 13 points of evaluation, and remember that big stack I brought in for evidence. This year I'm expected to do the rest of the ones that I didn't do the first time. And I think based on everything that we've been up to in the last number of weeks, I'd like to ask the board to accept that we go ahead and get the 360 review by our leadership team to do their evaluation through Kimberly and get that information out to you on March 11th, but that we don't do the evaluation in closed session until the 25th of March, at which time we would be able to culminate the scores and then come out publicly and announce that the same night. I just think that because of the complexity and breadth of the work that's going to have to be done and the artifacts and the evidence that I need to present to you, it's going to take me a little longer than 10 days or 2 weeks to be able to pull that off.
So if I remember last time, it took a long time to do the review, so that would just be one question of whether we would have time to do that before the 7 o'clock meeting.
I'm thinking we would do that during the 7 o'clock. We would go through the process, take a closed session, go into dialogue, come back out, and make the announcement. And maybe I can be a little bit more brief in some of the documents that we review.
Do you remember? I just remember it went
we did
really
have a
long.
long-
Do you
Yeah, it
remember?
went a long time, yeah.
What I think we could try to do is try to limit what we have on the agenda, aside from the evaluation,
Mm-hmm.
and that could help speed things up. I think we'll also be able to receive on the 11th the evaluations that the administrative team has submitted. I know that's one of the pieces that we were spending time on the night of the evaluation, so that could help speed things up as well, to have those in advance. But this is discussion time, so if you guys have concerns with
Do we have a deadline where it has to be?
by the end of March.
The board policy requires you by the end of March, or by March 31st annually.
I was just thinking it would be nice to have the administrators' reports, be able to talk about it, and maybe have a little bit more time between, but I can see where we're restricted by the calendar.
Well, there's no reason why we couldn't take the evaluation. You guys could go into closed session on the 11th and have a discussion about the results of that evaluation, feedback from the leadership team.
So then we'd have 2 closed sessions. I'd be good
I
with
like
that.
that.
Would that be okay?
Yeah. And then we can, and that way, if there's questions that come from it, we can have those to you for discussion.
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Does that seem fair?
That sounds better.
Okay.
I'd appreciate that for sure, being my first time.
Yeah, this will be a new experience for you guys, so. Okay, so we'll plan for that. So what we'll do is, just to recap, on the 11th, we'll have the results of the
Leadership team
leadership
feedback.
team. We'll go into closed session then to review that and see if there are any other questions that we have.
Mhm.
You will have your results to us on the 25th, and we'll go into closed session to go through the evaluation then, and then the goal is to have the evaluation completed and take action that night. on the
Sounds good.
25th.
Yep.
Does Is that fair to everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Did we get the training for the new board members?
We didn't have enough to bring a trainer down economically, so we're still looking for the opportunities when they first come up. They just rolled out the 2.0 version, so I'm thinking that they're going to need to do some refreshers anyways, and Kimberly are still contacting Mesa to find out when we can get that together.
I think the first time through, a lot of it'll be, you guys only have a couple months of experience with Randy, so we'll walk you guys through it, and we'll get through the first time with you guys this way.
And tonight we'll discuss a little further, okay?
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to action item, financial budget, approve a budget adjustment.
Miss Becky, you want to read the background?
Each year, school boards are required to adopt budgets by June 30. Assumptions are used when projecting revenues and expenditures. It is common to change projections based on events that occur after the budget is adopted. As a result, we typically recommend 2 to 3 budget adjustments. This would be the first budget adjustment since adoption of the original budget. It is the recommendation
Of the superintendent, that said action be taken.
Okay. So can I have a motion, please?
Move for approval. Support.
Okay. So now we'll have discussion. Is Becky going to walk us through?
Yeah, Becky, you want to walk through the budget?
I'll project it. I'll stand up and project it.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Larger, make it larger.
Just like this. You just really want to see it.
You're just showing us the same thing that's in our packet.
Yeah,
correct?
it's the same thing in the packet.
Lisa, do you want to just, yeah, but do you want to take the paper one? And you can sit back, if you'd like, that's.
So basically, this is a budget adjustment from where we started off the beginning budget. Some factors that went into this budget, I always like to point out that at the beginning of the year, we estimated about 2797 in student count. Our fall count that came in this year was 2778, so we were 19 students down in what we had projected, which is about $150,000. The biggest change on this budget is this is the last of the 22G funds that are sitting in there. So the larger number of state revenue increases is from the 22G funds. It's about 1.17 million in 22G funds that is lumped into that 1.4 number. The other money that we got additional in state revenue would be ORS dollars that come in and then they go back out to ORS to pay down that unfunded liability portion for the district. Some other changes actually for like some of the breakdowns for 22G that we did use, the remaining amount of money for was we bought the buses, we did some technology upgrades, the roof on Kroll was a big chunk of it, and then some unemployment costs that were remaining from Albion Public Schools. Some of the expenses that I wanted to highlight that we have in there, they're lumped in there, so the bigger ones are definitely the 22G. We have added more support at Walters for behavior support and at Gordon as well. And so this is an aid that's helping with behaviors within there. And we've also, with tighter dollars, increased counseling support at the elementary level. So that should hopefully help out with some of the stuff that's going on. We have increased in sub costs. This year we increased our sub costs just to help with the sub pool to try to get more sub teachers in. So that's showing in there. And then we had an increase from negotiations and wages with the teachers with their 1.5% on schedule come January. So that's it. We're looking at about a 7% fund balance at the end of the year. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Becky.
Nice work.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? Okay. We will start with Shauna.
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. Move on to action items, financial technology. There are 4 of them. Approve the purchase of equipment and services for the wireless refresh project. B, approve the purchase of new desktops for MYCA. C, approve the purchase of new Chromebooks for MYCA. And D, approve the purchase of a new server for MYCA. Can you give us background on those, Randy?
I'm going to let, Becky, can you do A, and I'll take B, C, D?
This summer, the Category 2 E-rate funding made available to districts like ours will come to an end. The Category 2 funding can be used to purchase and install access points, routers, switches, hubs, and wiring. Our district has funding which we have to either use or lose. For that reason, the technology director identified the wireless access points across our campuses as both needing to be upgraded and which we can use these fundings to do so. An RFP was released to the public for 30 days. 3 vendors responded. Citrant was disqualified due to an incomplete bid submission. Comspec was the second vendor, whose bid was $363,547.24. Moss was the third vendor, whose bid totaled $194,347.01. If Moss is awarded the project and once E-rate funding is leveraged, the total project cost MPS will be responsible for will be $38,869.40. For that reason, it is the recommendation of the technology director that Moss be awarded the wireless refresh project pending approval for E-rate funding.
Okay. You want to take all these together or one separate?
Do you want?
No, I'm asking the board. Bill, what would you like to do? Take them all together for the vote or do one at a time?
I was going to do them all together, but is anybody opposed to that?
That's fine.
Okay. So B, at our MYCA campus, Michigan Youth Challenge Academy, the Windows desktops and monitors are in need of upgrading. These devices are used in the computer lab for both student use and Microsoft certifications. For that reason, 3 quotes from vendors were solicited. Trinity 3 quoted a Dell desktop, 22-inch LCD monitor, and 6-year warranty for $485 a unit. CDW-G quoted HP desktop with 21.5-inch LED monitor for $737.56 per unit. C-High quoted HP desktop, 21.5-inch monitor, and a 3-year warranty for $633.25 a unit. It is a recommendation of the technology director that we purchase 31 units from Trinity 3 using title funds and pending the final approval of the consolidated application. So that's coming out of title funds, okay? In addition to the above desktops, it was determined that purchasing 2 Chromebook carts for MYCA would allow students better access to resources in order to meet their program requirements. In the fall, a Chromebook RFP was released. Trinity 3 won that bid. That total cost will be $16,900 and purchased using title funds, pending the final approval of the consolidated application. It is the recommendation of the technology director that the district purchase 60 additional Chromebooks and 2 media cards from Trinity 3, who was previously awarded the Chromebook bid in the fall. And then D, over the course of the last few years, the technology has had an increasingly difficult time supporting the server environment and network at MYCA. For this reason, the technology director has purchased necessary equipment to get MYCA on our own network. In addition to that, re-engineering the network, a new server is necessary for local authentication in the event there is an interruption of service to Marshall. For that reason, 3 quotes were solicited from vendors. The first vendor, Trinity 3, submitted a refurbished Dell server option with a 4 years of support for $6,375. CTWG submitted a Dell server option with 3 years of support for $6,850.35. C-High submitted an HP server option for $7,647. It is the recommendation of the Technology Director that Marshall Public Schools purchase 1 unit from CDWG using title funds and pending the final approval of the consolidated application. Recommendation is recommendation of the superintendent that action items financial technology be approved as presented.
I have a motion, please.
Move for approval?
Support.
Okay, discussion.
Could you explain title funds?
Well, I'm gonna give you my broad view and then send it down to Becky. My broad view is each community, based on the census, determines what the level of economic need are in your communities. And based on that economic need, there's a calculation of how much dollars are available through federal title funds that come through, and there's Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV. These dollars that come through are prescribed on how those dollars can be used. There's a consolidated app, which is a combination of all of those that goes up for recommendation on how we're using the money. Don Beck has done a nice job of starting the process and ensuring that process begins at the roots at the building level, where teams come together for their school improvement plan. Through their school improvement plan and their objectives and goals, they're able to identify needs for that building that could be covered by title, depending on the percentage of title dollars that building particularly gets. Then after that goes up to Lansing, consolidated app gets approved, or gets sent back for more adjustments. At this point, we have had our final submission, and we're looking for final approval. And Becky, do you have anything else to add on that?
No, you did a really nice job saying that. The only thing, title funds are, they're federal dollars, and you have to spend them the way that you say you're gonna spend them. And so it's really, you don't get, we get about 1.7 million. We have some carryover, but it's our largest, it's not our largest pot of money, but it's the most watched pot of money that we use as a district. We really cherish those dollars, and Don and I do work together to make sure that we're doing that. So.
Can you just comment on why we picked the second cheapest? Was there something,
Under D.
The server.
yeah.
Yes. First option was a reverse conservative. The second cheapest was a grand conservative.
Okay.
So, and rather than buying a 4-year-old server, they give us a warranty, that warranty the hardware. What ends up happening is operating systems will void the hardware for so many years anyway. So you could buy the cheap $200, you could be locked into something you could use for 2 years.
I'm extremely happy that we're actually putting a plan together to improve the technology supports for the MYCA. I know Ben's wrestled with that when he used to be over there, and this kind of improvement is really a welcome relief. I'm sure Ron is like, yeah.
We're making a lot of strides in the right direction. Something that has already been purchased will bring them on our market number, so to give it additional resources that they can have out there as well.
Yeah, great.
Any other questions?
So I have a question about the Chromebook carts. So the background just says that there was a previous RFP. And so this is probably a general question, but just in general, once we approve, for D, for example, is this the information from the RFP for, what was that, for the server for MYCA? And then once that's done, when we actually get that thing done, they'll come back and say, the RFP was approved, I don't know, what is this, February, and now we're asking for that money?
Well, the way it works is all the consolidated apps are in the hands of the folks up in the state. All federal dollars roll through the State Department of Education. And even though we know that they haven't given final approval, we have pretty clear understandings that our roadmap that we've submitted and the dollars we've asked for are going to be approved, because we're constantly, Don's working and Becky's working with the folks up at Title and Lansing to make sure that we're moving down the right path and there's no huge concerns that come up. Normally, if we're within the level of funding that's expected or that's been told that we're going to get or receive, and it's gone up through the process that begins at the building level and percolates up through central office, so we're not having top-down decisions, but it's actually coming up from the needs of the buildings, then we're in really good shape to be able to get that provided. Becky, do you have any idea when Consolidated App is going to be approved? Tea leaves?
No, I know she's working on it, because we've got something back today on part of it, so she's probably looking at ours is probably in the queue.
So I think I might have misspoke or didn't completely state my question well. So I didn't have a question about the consolidated app part, I get that part.
Okay.
My question just was, the RFP says that it was released in the fall and approved in the fall. The bid was approved in the fall. But now we're looking at asking for that money. But I didn't see anything, I went back, because obviously, this is my second month on the board. So I went back just to see the RFP, what the other bids were, and I couldn't find that. So that's why I was asking, because the other ones, B and D, give us what those other bids were. So it makes sense as to why the technology director suggested which ones he did. And he also clarified for D why he chose the one that was slightly higher, because it makes sense to get a new server versus a used one for $500. So that's my question. Does that make sense?
I can answer that. So basically, the vendor is willing to honor the pricing from the fall. So that's why we took the numbers from the fall RFP process and said, if you're willing to honor that, we would be willing to buy 2 months.
Gotcha.
So that's the time to okay the fall.
Okay.
So that's
Thank you.
that should have been stated.
Good.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we'll start with Brent.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to Board Professional Development, School Advanced Superintendent.
Okay, in your packet, you should have received the Superintendent and District Leader Formative Rubric 2.0 for LEAs, ISDs, and ESAs. That's actually, that thick packet is actually the rubric. And in the rubric, just to explain the rubric for you, it'll have a particular domain identified. It'll have a factor underneath that domain. It'll have a characteristic that could be focused upon within that domain. It has ineffective, and there's no language under ineffective because there's no sense in describing what that looks like, right? Minimally effective tells you where you should be basically. Effective tells you where you should be in regards to relationships to the people that you're working with and the organization. And then highly effective not only does that, but addresses the connection with the board, the community, and so forth. So I guess an easy way of remembering the rubric is minimally effective is what I am doing as an individual relative to those things. The effective is what we are doing as an organization relative to those things. And then the highly effective is not only what we are doing, but what we're bringing out to the community and other stakeholders to be engaged and involved. Okay? So rather than swim through all that, use that as your guide or your go-to for the narrative. But you also have a copy of this, which is a one-sheeter. It's called the Superintendent District Leader Framework 2.0. I'm going to tell you this piece that Kimberly put together is really outstanding. It's under 7C in your board packet. This is the evaluation of the superintendent tool that you would use when we sit down. It actually tells you, it'll give you the domain, it'll give you the characteristic, it'll give you the particulars behind that. So the domain, factor, and characteristic, and it'll give you the rubric right there, and it'll allow you to, after all information is presented to you, it allows you to check what area you think that you would like to be at with that in the rating. And that's after I show you artifacts and evidence and so on and so forth to demonstrate in real time that we are actually working on that process or improving that process. And it gives you an opportunity for comments down to maybe take notes and those kind of things, so verbally you can give that feedback as you have that dialogue and discourse in the closed session. For this little piece right here, the other piece that we actually like, and Kimberly brought it up, number one, the format of this rubric that's in your packet is what I use as I kind of shape what that evidence looks like. It's not what you're going to be using. You're going to be using that white that handout, 7C, because that's really the summative rubric. This is a formative rubric. But you can see all the language behind what I'm looking at and how I'm moving forward. The summative rubric is the rating. And then on this piece, I like to do this because it keeps us pretty well focused. Remember that many of these other items I've already addressed. So these are all new for this year. So if you would go down on this sheet, domain 2, B1 is the area that I'll be focused on under leadership. Domain 2C2 is another area I'll be focused on in leadership. Those are the two items there. If you look at domain 3, it's domain 3A1, domain 3A3, domain B3. For domain 4 processes, it's going to be a lot on community building. So it'll be domain 4A1, 2, 3, and 4. And on domain 5, under capacity, it's going to be domain 5A4 on productivity. Okay? Domain 1 on results is a given, and it's a default. So we go straight to that, and we take a look at how our performance is doing relative to what our expectations. And so I'll be giving you evidence on that, on our performances as well. So the idea will be on March 11th, by March 11th, we'll have compiled the feedback from the leadership team. Kimberly will take that and give you scores of each of the categories that have been looked at, and I believe she does a range, or she does the score or average. And that's the information you'll have relative to each of these areas. Or Kimberly, do you coordinate the survey to these items, or do you coordinate the survey generally about relationship, leadership, those types of things? Okay.
And I colonize it, do counts, and then come up with an average.
And you add comments if anybody makes open-ended comments, right? Okay. So that gives you an idea from leadership, and then when that's done, you want to take that into consideration as you're looking at the rubric and my presentation of evidence to allow you to ask questions and things. So if there's not congruence between what you think you hear from the leadership team and what I'm presenting, you need to ask those questions during the presentation so I can walk through my explanation on that. And then you'll be in a position to be able to make a rating based on your best decision. We'll compile all of those, put that together, and come up with a consensus rating for each of these categories I just described, and an overall category for the superintendent's overall rating. Okay.
Brent and Sean, since this is your first time, I'll reach out to you guys and see if you want to sit down before the next meeting and kind of hash through or kind of see how we've done in the past and stuff. Anybody else have any questions? I think this is our third year with this? Or-
No, this will be our second full year with this, yeah.
We will move on to,
Before you go, I just wanted to let you know, I'm not moving the leadership team over to 2.0 this year, because that wasn't rolled out until after the year began, so I'm staying with the tool that we trained ourselves on last year. There is a crossover. Michelle is doing a great job of helping educate me on that crossover. She gave me a headache for a long time while we were talking about that. But she's my go-to detail person, so that's okay. But we're not going to use the 2.0 for them at this point until we get done with the year, and then as we start preparing for next year, we'll put the 2.0 out there for them. Okay?
anything else? Okay, we'll go to public comment, and we ask anybody to keep comments under 3 minutes. Or less. Seeing none, we'll move on to board member comments for which no action may be taken at this meeting.
Just a side note for the principals, I can read almost any Thursday if you'd like me to come out, so.
I was just gonna say.
I can read to you as part, I can read to you during the election.
It's all good. I'm trying to figure.
Anybody have anything? I just have one thing. It's one of our board members' birthday today, so we gotta have a happy birthday song at least.
Whose birthday?
Who is that? Who is that? Lisa. No wonder you were late for the board meeting.
Do we get to sing to Lisa?
Sure we do. Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lisa. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, thanks to my husband. At least he didn't mention how old I was.
Anything else? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Center of the table.